At one time, the German Fuhrer and his armies controlled nearly the entire landmass of Europe. By the end of April 1945, he could barely hold his own capital city. Dönitz had decided to end the war as quickly as possible, but he wanted to delay the general surrender of all forces in order to, as he put it, save the maximum number of Germans from Bolshevism and enslavement.
A delegation arrived, expecting to be treated as professionals, to meet Eisenhower, possibly have coffee, certainly handshakes, and then discuss surrender terms. Once they said, yes, we do, he turned around and left. It had been a cruel, a horrible, a terrible war.
As they grew more and more eloquent, Eisenhower was growing more and more impatient with them, and finally he threw them all aside and pulled out a piece of paper and scribbled by hand, the mission of this Allied force was completed in 0245 hours, May 7, 1945, signed Eisenhower. And the war was over.
From New York City's Times Square, to London's Piccadilly Circus, to Moscow's Red Square, the victorious Allies celebrated the end of the war in Europe. But the surrender would not go into effect officially until May 8th. President Harry Truman declared May 8th as VE Day, Victory in Europe Day.
I wish that Franklin D. Roosevelt had lived to see this day. General Eisenhower informs me that the forces of Germany have surrendered to the United Nations.
World War I, the Allies had decided in the peace treaty that people accused of war crimes should be tried. And one of the many concessions made to the Germans after the First World War was a change which the Allies had agreed to in the Versailles Treaty, that the Germans would try these criminals themselves. Well, that proved an absolute and total fiasco. And the Allies were not about to try that a second time.
Going to ask him to open his mouth for a medical examination. But when they did so, he bit the cyanide capsule that he'd got hidden in his back teeth and died in front of them. So he escaped justice.
On November 20th, 1945, 21 defendants entered the courtroom and saw for the first time the men who would judge them. On a raised dais opposite the prisoners sat 8 judges, 2 each from Great Britain, France, the United States, and the Soviet Union, with the British judge, Lord Geoffrey Lawrence, presiding.
Chosen by Truman to head up what came to be officially called the Office of the Chief of Prosecution of Axis Criminality. And he was first the chief American negotiator in the establishment of the Nuremberg court system. He was then the American chief prosecutor in the actual trial